They were watching you, waiting, weren't they? They wanted to see if you had it in you to do the unthinkable, to turn against the one person you've always known, the one person who has always been there, yourself. And you didn't disappoint. You declared war, not on the world, but on your own reflection. You took a hard, unflinching look in the mirror and decided that the old you was nothing but a relic, a remnant of a life that no longer served you. You knew deep down that to evolve, to ascend, you had to destroy the person you once were. And so you did. Going to war with your old self isn't just a battle. It's a bloodbath, a brutal confrontation where only one will emerge victorious. The person you were, they're fighting tooth and nail to survive, to hold on to the old ways, the old habits, the old fears. But you've changed, haven't you? You've seen the light, or maybe it's the darkness, and you realize now that the only way forward is to leave the past in ashes. You can't carry the old you into the new world you're creating. The baggage, the doubts, the weaknesses, they all have to go, no matter the cost. This isn't a battle fought with swords or guns. It's fought in the depths of your soul, in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. It's a war of attrition, where you strip away the layers of your old self, piece by piece, until there's nothing left but the core of who you really are. It's not pretty. It's not noble. It's a savage, merciless process. A purification by fire that leaves you raw, exposed, but ultimately stronger. The old you clings on, desperate to survive. But you know the truth. There's no room for who you were in the life you're about to claim. The world doesn't understand this kind of war. They think change is supposed to be gradual, gentle, a soft evolution. But you know better. Real change, the kind that shatters paradigms and rewrites destinies, is born from conflict, from chaos. You've waged war on yourself because you refuse to be shackled by the limitations of your past. You've seen what happens when people let their old selves linger, poisoning their future with the rot of who they used to be. But you won't let that happen to you. You've made the choice. The old you must die for the new you to rise. In the ashes of this internal war, you find clarity. Every strike against your old self is a step closer to the person you were always meant to become. The fears, the doubts, the insecurities, they are the enemy, and you've taken them down, one by one. It's not enough to simply outgrow your old self. You have to obliterate it, erase it from existence, so that there's no chance of it ever returning. This is your rebirth, your transformation, and it's forged in the fires of your own making. The aftermath of this war is a landscape of scorched earth, a place where the old you once stood. But in that desolation, something new is growing, something fierce, something unstoppable. The person you've become is not just an evolution, it's a revolution, a complete overthrow of everything that once held you back. You've gone to war with your old self and emerged not just victorious, but reborn. So let them watch. Let them whisper about the change they see in you. They'll never understand the war you've waged within, the battles you fought in the darkness of your own mind. They see the result, the new you, standing tall, unshaken by the past. But they'll never know the cost, the bloodshed, the war that had to be fought to get here. You've changed things forever, not just in the world around you, but in the very fabric of who you are. The old you is gone, buried in the battlefield of your own making. And the new you is unstoppable, unbreakable, and ready to take on whatever comes next. Ah, the cruel irony of it all. Your personality, that intricate web of thoughts, habits, and tendencies, isn't just who you are. It's the architect of your reality. Every decision you make, every action you take, is filtered through the lens of this personality. And here's the twisted truth. The old self you've been dragging along like a corpse is a prison, a cage built from bad habits, poor choices, and the toxic comforts of mediocrity. It's a program, a script written long before you had the awareness to choose for yourself. And until you rewrite that script, until you shatter the old self into 1,000 pieces, your reality will never change. You've seen it, haven't you? The way your old self clings to those bad habits like chains around your neck, dragging you down into the same pit of despair, the same cycle of failure. It's programmed into you, this self-destructive pattern, a series of actions and reactions that keep you locked in a loop, repeating the same mistakes, living the same life over and over again. It's a curse, a spell cast by your own mind, and the only way to break it is through conscious, deliberate action. You have to become the villain of your own story, the antagonist who refuses to let the protagonist remain weak, complacent, and blind. This isn't about self-improvement. It's about self-annihilation. You can't just polish the surface and hope for a different outcome. No, you have to go deep to the very root of your being and rip out the bad code, the faulty programming that's been dictating your every move. You have to face the darkness within, the parts of yourself that you've kept hidden, even from yourself. It's a brutal process, one that requires a level of honesty most people can't handle. But you've already waged war on your old self, and you know that there's no turning back now. Your personality has been the foundation of your personal reality. But that foundation is cracked, corrupted by years of conditioning, by the lies you've been fed and the lies you've told yourself. You've been living in a reality constructed by a version of you that was weak, fearful, and easily controlled. But now, you see it for what it is. A false reality, a mirage that has kept you complacent, trapped in a life that's far beneath what you're capable of. Changing your personality isn't just about adopting new habits. It's about rewriting the entire narrative of your existence. You have to become hyper-aware of every thought, every action, every impulse that comes from that old self. And you have to crush it, snuff it out before it has a chance to take root again. You have to become the puppet master of your own mind, pulling the strings with precision, with intent, until the old self is nothing but a distant memory, a ghost that no longer haunts you. And here's the darkest truth of all. Your old self will fight you every step of the way. It doesn't want to die. It will whisper in your ear, tempting you to return to the comfort of the known, the familiar, the easy. It will try to convince you that change is impossible, that you are who you are, and nothing can alter that. But you know better. You've seen the cracks in the foundation, and you know that the only way to build something new is to tear down the old, to raise it to the ground, and start from scratch. Your personality has created your personal reality, but now you're the one in control. You're the one who decides what stays and what goes, who shapes the new you from the ashes of the old. It's a dark process, a painful one, but it's the only way to truly change, to truly evolve, you have to become the sculptor of your own destiny, carving away the flaws, the weaknesses, until only the purest form of yourself remains. So go ahead, tear down the old self, dismantle the personality that has kept you trapped in a reality you never chose. It's time to rebuild, to create a new self that is stronger, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous. A self that isn't bound by the past, but forged in the fires of conscious change, of relentless self-discipline. Your new personality will create a new reality, one where you are no longer a prisoner of your own mind, but the master of your fate. They'll watch you, won't they? They'll see the transformation, the way you've shed your old skin, and they'll be terrified, because they know that if you can change so completely, so utterly, then nothing is impossible for you. You've mastered the art of detachment, waged war on your old self, and now you stand on the precipice of a new reality, one that you control, one that you've built with your own hands. And in this new world, you are unstoppable. Ah, assumptions, a comforting lie you've been feeding yourself, a narrative that keeps you tethered to your current reality, like a dog chained to a post. You see, your assumptions about who you are, what you're capable of, and what your life should be, are nothing but the shackles you've willingly placed on yourself. They're the easy answers, the excuses that allow you to sleep at night, content in your mediocrity. But here's the dark, bitter truth. Your assumptions and the truth of your potential dine at entirely separate tables in entirely different worlds. One feasts in the dim light of complacency, while the other revels in the dark banquet of untapped power and limitless possibility. Your assumptions tell you that this is all there is, that you've reached the limits of what you can achieve, that the world you see is the world that is. But that's the grand deception, isn't it? Your assumptions are the comfort food of the mind, filling you with the hollow calories of false certainty, keeping you numb and docile. They've convinced you that the walls around you are solid, impenetrable, that the ceiling above you is as high as you'll ever reach. But the truth is far more sinister, far more liberating. It's that those walls and that ceiling are nothing but illusions, shadows on the cave wall, and you've been living in a prison of your own making. The truth of your potential doesn't sit at the same table as your assumptions because it's far too dangerous, far too raw to be contained by the lies you've been telling yourself. Your potential is a beast, a dark, primal force that waits, biding its time, hungry to break free. But it's been starved, hasn't it? Starved by the assumptions that keep it chained, muzzled, whispering that you're not enough, that you'll never be enough. And so, you fed the assumptions, kept them fat and happy, while your potential withers away in the shadows, unseen and unheard. But here's where things take a darker turn. Your potential is not dead, it's dormant. And the longer you feed the assumptions, the more restless your potential becomes. It starts to grow quietly beneath the surface, gnawing at the edges of your carefully constructed reality, waiting for the moment to rise, to devour the lies you've built your life upon. You've felt it, haven't you? That creeping sense of dissatisfaction, the nagging thought that there's more, so much more, just beyond the reach of your assumptions. It's your potential, clawing at the door, demanding to be let in. The truth of your potential is a terrifying thing because it doesn't conform to the rules, the limits, the the boundaries that your assumptions have set. It doesn't care about what you think is possible, what you believe you're capable of. It exists in a world where there are no limits, no boundaries, only endless possibilities, infinite power, waiting to be claimed. But to reach it, to dine at that table, you have to be willing to destroy the assumptions that have kept you safe, to step into the darkness where your potential thrives. The world of assumptions is one of light, of safety, of the known. It's where you sit comfortably, eating the scraps that life throws your way, content with your lot. But the world of truth, the world of potential, is a banquet of the unknown, where you feast on the raw, unfiltered power that comes from embracing who you truly are. It's not a place for the faint of heart, for those who cling to the comfort of their assumptions. It's a place of darkness, of danger, where only the strong, the ruthless, the determined dare to tread. Your assumptions have kept you small, kept you in a box, a neatly wrapped package that the world can understand, can control. But your potential? It's the wild, untamed force that refuses to be boxed in, that defies understanding, that shatters control. It's the truth that you've been avoiding, the truth that you're capable of so much more than you've allowed yourself to believe. And to unleash it, to claim it, you have to be willing to destroy everything you think you know about yourself, to burn your assumptions to the ground and rise from the ashes, reborn in the dark, terrifying light of your true potential. So ask yourself, are you content to sit at the table of assumptions, nibbling at the scraps of what could be? Or will you stand up, walk into the shadows, and take your place at the table of truth, where your potential waits, hungry, ready to consume everything in its path? It's a choice, a dark, dangerous choice, but one that only you can make. Your assumptions and your truth will never dine together, never coexist. One must die for the other to live. And when you finally make that choice, when you finally let go of the lies you've been feeding yourself, you'll find that the world you thought you knew was nothing but a pale shadow of the reality you're capable of creating. The allure of change. It's a seductive whisper in the dark, isn't it? A promise of transformation, of becoming something more, something greater. You can almost taste it, can't you? The thrill of stepping into a new version of yourself, shedding the old skin like a serpent. But here's the catch, the cruel twist in this dark tale. Change isn't as simple as desire. Oh no, it's much more sinister than that. You want to change, you crave it. But soon enough, the habit of overthinking begins to crawl in, like a parasite burrowing into your mind, feeding on your doubts, your fears, your insecurities. You start to question everything. Am I ready for this? What if I fail? What if this new path is just another illusion, another trap? And before you know it, you're paralyzed, caught in the web of your own thoughts, spinning yourself into a cocoon of inaction. The fire of change that once burned so brightly inside you starts to flicker, dimmed by the endless loop of what-ifs and maybes. You become your own worst enemy, the villain in your own story, strangling the very potential you once sought to unleash. Don't be like them, those pathetic souls who romanticize their plans, who build castles in the air, only to let them crumble to dust because they dread the execution. You know that the mind is a battlefield, and the first battle you must win is against yourself, against the voices that tell you to wait, to hesitate, and to stay static.